This is the first of our 6 series. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are deeply grateful to live, work, and learn on unceded and traditional territories of Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh Coast Salish people. I also like to thank the City of Vancouver for the 2020 Cultural Arts Grant funding for supporting this program. Before I introduce our main attraction, which is our artist in residence, I like to spend the next 5 to 10 minutes to speak about how this project came about and what's my personal connections to this project. Sense of home or feeling rooted has been my mind for a long time, and especially surfaced in this traveling time. What do you do to get nourished in this time of pandemic? For me, I started revisiting my childhood memories and people who continue to be influential in my life. And my deceased maternal grandfather has been my North Star. He left over 1,000 paintings, drawings, and poetry, in addition to his published memoirs that has been a source of sort of constant reminder and a source of our kindness and hope among our family members. Even though he was a banker by trade for all his life, he spent his entire spare time to paint, write, read, photograph, and also do gardening and go fishing that he loved so much. It was such a difficult task for me to select a few examples from too many, but anyhow, the image on the oil painting on the left side depicted his studies adjacent to his garden, which was also my playground. I grew up in my grandparents' house all of my childhood. In spring, the old plum tree blossomed pure white flowers every spring, and it produced so many plum flutes, from which my grandmother made Japanese salted plum, which was my favorite food. And thinking about it made me kind of salivate. So for me, this painting not only stirs my emotional sort of reactions, such as happiness and a sense of awe to the beauty on display, but also provides a place to reveal my grief and gratitude. And the painting on the right depicted Mount Aso in Kumamoto City, my hometown. The subject with which he fell in love and perhaps painted the most to capture his fascination with that place. I used to tag along with him to his plein air painting when I was small. I didn't understand back then why he kept painting sort of numerous versions of Mount Aso. But now, as a grown-up, I'm wondering that for my grandfather, the Mount Aso was about something closer to home or something that his own self. And back then, I didn't know anything about how artist notebook would serve the artist, other than generating ideas and then flash them out like a dress rehearsal or practice run. My grandfather kept meticulous records of everyday beauty or travel logs or anything speaks to his heart. He kept writing and drawing from his hospital bed to his last days, the one that you are seeing on the screen. After he passed away, a family member compiled hundreds of notebooks and went through each page and self-published his artist notebook for the next generations to really celebrate life and search for meaning in the face of suffering or change, including death. And I later realized that act of observing or just putting idea down on the paper itself may be the key to power, to be resilient and to even determine the course of our own life and viewed by the creativity. So make a long story short, this project, Artist Notebook, is closest to my heart as I've witnessed how practice of keeping your own artist notebook provided my grandfathers with sort of keys to unlocking wisdom and compassion as a way of transforming his lives and perhaps overcoming his many inevitable moments of fragilities. He died from lung cancer at the age of 85. This is my grandfather who passed away 20 years ago, whom I have nothing but utmost respect. I am who I am today thanks to my grandparents, of course my parents too. Last year I started painting watercolor. I started self-taught sort of watercolor, and I painted my grandfather as shown, as a way of sort of telling him that I'm kind of following in his footsteps. So moving on, as I mentioned that this project is hope to create a collaborative artist notebook, and you may be wondering where to begin. I would start off with asking, what questions are you asking yourself these days? There's so many intriguing questions. For example, which is more important, a specific end look or process? What can you do to develop a sense of rootedness going forward? What stories and memories will you pass on to our future generations? What effect do you think self-expression has on our own life? What matters most? How concerned are you about climate change or public health? And what do you do to get replenished in this time of pandemic? So the list goes on, and I hope you will share your questions and we all can explore together at some point. So then moving on, you are in for a treat. We have the wonderful and talented local artists who serve as artists in residence for this project, Zarina Robo and Nancy Lowe. I met Zarina and Nancy through the BAC's intercultural weaving project called Weaving Our Way, started 2016, and it's still going on, as all we know. It happens that the weavers came together as a family, and the rest is history. In a way, we need art and artists more now than ever, because we need to be reminded that we are all part of a bigger story. Also, we need art to help guide us, because there's so much going on, to say the least. So here is our process. Next one. Okay. As I said, this is the first of a 6 series. As you see, each Zoom live meetup is scheduled at the beginning of the month, and we have a monthly theme or point of focus with which you will be working with Zarina and Nancy, who will be gently guiding us to explore during the live session. And after Zoom session, you are encouraged to carry on doing some homework, which we'll explain more in details. At the end of each month, you are invited to submit your in-progress work of art to be part of a collective artist notebook. And sorry, I'm going through a little bit fast in the interest of time. So the month of October, the theme is Perfectly Imperfect Lines, and Zarina and Nancy will discuss more as we go. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you, Zarina and Nancy, and please welcome. Thank you so much.